Welcome to this week's episode of Luv Subbin, and as you can see, it is like 52 degrees here in Vermont, so we've in February, and we've taken this opportunity to kind of get outside and film this week's episode in front of the Luv Sub. So if you've not checked out Cindy's previous videos on how to store glasses and dishes in our Airstream, make sure you check that out because it's pretty interesting, and make sure you click down here to subscribe to our channel as we provide Airstream content every Tuesday. And this week's is going to be another kind of sort of how-to, and in this week's video I'm going to show you 5 tools that you probably don't have in your Airstream or RV that you definitely should consider getting because we've used them quite a bit. So if you're ready to get into this episode, let's go ahead and kick right into it. Item number 1 on the list of tools that you might not have that you certainly need or would be helpful if you need is an endoscope. And so you might be thinking, okay, Rich, yeah, my doctor does this once a year. And Cindy and I actually thought of perhaps saving money on our colonoscopies by doing a home use, but we're probably not going to do that. But nevertheless, this is of use. Why is it of use? First of all, as you know, in an RV, an Airstream, a boat, anything, there's all kinds of hidden crevices. There's hinter regions of the Airstream behind things that you can't see. This tool allows you to see where you can't. Okay, here you can see the endoscope in action. I'm underneath the dinette, and I'm going to put it into this little hole and go into the hinter regions of the Airstream. You can see some of our hot water and cold water piping, some electrical systems. You can kind of see some conduit there as we focus in on the wall. All kinds of interesting kind of stuff there. Cobwebs, that's not good. Have to clean that kind of up. It hooks up wirelessly to your cell phone so that you can record what you see, and you can also feed this thing through where you might not be able to see. And I know I have dropped all kinds of screws and bolts and they just go off into the middle of nowhere, and it's so hard to find. Also good for looking for mouse ingress points. It also comes with 3 attachment points, which makes it even more useful. The 3 attachment points, one is a little hook, so you can hook it on to the device here, and you can actually hook like a set of, if you drop a ring or something like that. It also comes with a magnet. This thing would allow me to feed that thing in and actually magnetize and grab that little screw or bolt that's fallen into the middle of nowhere. Okay, I took one for the team here for the video, and I tossed a bolt into the nether regions. As you can see here, you can see it kind of coming into view with the light, kind of feeding it by that hot and cold water pipe in the middle of nowhere. She's coming onto the bolt, and bingo, she's got it. We're pulling up that screw that we might have dropped into the hinter regions. Sweet. And then finally it comes with a mirror so that I can look backwards as well. So definitely the endoscope. And like I say, all of the things that I'm talking about here are less than $40. And if this was like a $200 tool or something like that, I'd be like, you know what? It's just not worth it. But for $35.99 on Amazon, this is just a ridiculous piece of technology for that level of price. So definitely the endoscope is our first tool in our tools that you might not have. Number 2 on our list is something called an offset screwdriver. I'll bring that up and show that kind of up close here. Offset screwdriver, and it has both Phillips head and flathead. But what this thing does is it does 2 things. I fabricated this little fixture here and attached it with this clamp. This clamp almost made the top 5, but I figured everybody's got some type of clamp. But if you don't have one of those clamps, that thing is awesome. But you can kind of see from this fixture, if you were to try and get in there and do that, it'd be extremely difficult to get in there, and there's lots of different things. Now, of course, I could take this off, but in your Airstream, you don't want to be taking a whole lot of things off. But this little screwdriver gets in like this, and bingo. You can screw or unscrew this thing super easy. The thing is just awesome. One of the great strengths of this offset screwdriver, aside from getting into tough places, is just the torque that it provides. And you can see that demonstrated here, whereby if I'm twisting this, it is really super hard. But then you take this little guy, and bingo. Even when you don't need to get into tight places, this guy is 10 times easier than this guy. So a couple different uses for this. And this thing is only $6.99. So definitely, it's probably one of the most useful screwdrivers I have ever come across, and I definitely recommend it. Okay, item number 3, a set of calipers. Now, we're always frequently trying to measure things, and you can use a ruler, you can use tape measure, and all different kinds of measurement systems, but I have found the caliper, an analog caliper, to be superior to do this. And why is that? Because this little tool here, and anybody who does any type of RVing or boating or any type of thing knows the value of multitasking. And this thing can do 3 different measurements all at once. To demonstrate the versatility of the calipers, we're going to enlist our growler. If ever you want to know about a cap. But for example, with this particular tool, you can measure the outer diameter. You can measure the inner diameter of the cap, and then you can measure the depth of the cap. So 3 measurements all in one with one cool little tool. So this caliper here is $35. This thing here I've used many times. You can get a really accurate measurement, both millimeters and inches, in 3 different ways. So I love this thing. Number 4. Number 4 comes from Dremel, okay? And all of us have the Dremel tool usually, in which you have the rotational fixture that will sand or grind or polish, etc. But this Dremel is different. This is a Dremel Torch. And again, like the calipers, this is a 3-in-1 tool. This torch will allow you to, first and foremost, shrink wrap electrical hosing so that you can ensure your electrical connections. It'll also, and that's this tool, so you fit this on here, and that kind of diffuses the flame and allows you to use it for shrink wrapping. As you can see, I've butt spliced these 2 wires, and we're going to demonstrate the shrink wrapping ability of the Dremel to ensure that your butt connection stays solid. Definitely useful. It comes with a soldering point, so I can insert my tip along with solder, and I can solder an electrical connection. And what's good about this too, as you know, if you're outside boondocking and you don't have access to an electrical 110 connection, this butane soldering iron definitely does the trick without any electricity. So I'm just going to tin my, and I am what's called an emergency solderer. And as you can see, I am definitely a recreational solderer. I'm not a professional and would do so only in case of an emergency. But nevertheless, if you need to do so, I've been able to solder with this quite regularly. So it's definitely a good tool to have. And then finally, it serves as a regular torch. And I think we've only used this for creme brulee. I don't think we've used this for anything else. But you could also just use this regular torch for, say, lighting a campfire or anything else you might need to light a fire for. So this thing is definitely one of those 3-in-1 tools that can be very, very useful. And this thing comes in at $37.49 on Amazon. So again, under 40 bucks, but you get a soldering iron, a heat gun, and a torch all in one.
What kind of fuel does it take?
Yep, it takes butane, that type of rossignol butane. So you have this cylinder here, and you unscrew it, and then you have a little butane cylinder, and I'll show a picture of that right here shortly. Number 5. Okay, so this one we use all the time. Sometimes, you know, admittedly the endoscope you might use only once a season or once every great while, but the multimeter is something I use all the time. And if you don't have a multimeter, this is one that probably a lot of you do have in your toolbox, but if you don't have one, get one, because in an Airstream or RV or boat or whatever, this thing here is used all the time. So you can measure continuity, you can measure resistance, you can measure voltage, both direct current and alternating current. So if you're for troubleshooting, you can find short circuits. I found actually a short in the power jack that I was able to troubleshoot that was doing a parasitic drain on my battery that was driving the battery down. So This thing here, there's books, there's YouTube videos on how to use a multimeter. But if you don't have one, this is one of the ones. In fact, all of these are really nice to have. This one here is a mandatory item in your toolkit. So this one here, I chose, I'm an electric geek, so I chose a Fluke multimeter. Fluke is the best of the best in the world. This one here was about $176. But just doing an Amazon search, I'll include a link both to this one, which is the best of the best, as well as some cheaper ones that are under $40 to keep my theme going. But definitely checking battery, voltage, all that stuff is absolutely necessary. So those are my 5 Wait, let's do a bonus tool. So this here is one of the coolest little pocket references I've ever come across, and this is going to be my bonus tool. So this is the Thomas J. Glover Pocket Reference 4th edition, and this on Amazon is $12.50. It includes things like, of course, metric to standard conversions, a variety of different bolt threads, different types of strengths of different chains, like how much of a chain can hold, etc. And just looking through this thing, you can see, for example, here's 7-way trailer connectors. So it shows you which each of the wire in your 7-way trailer connector does, so that if you're having a problem of some sort, bam, you get your 7-way trailer connector. You've got wire sizes versus voltage drop. So if you're trying to run some new wires, what is that voltage drop as you increase the distance of the wire per the gauge? Types of nails, the names for the nails. It's got Armed Forces rank. It's got everything you could possibly imagine in one stupid little reference guide that I think is just super cool. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tools you might not have in your toolbox that you want to consider, as well as one bonus. And so definitely, what are your tools that you think are awesome to have in your toolbox? Definitely comment in the comment section below. We put out Airstream related videos every Tuesday, so make sure you subscribe in the little box here. And definitely check out some of our other videos. We've got stuff on how to climb on top of your Airstream, how to store your dishes and glasses so they don't break, how to set up your truck properly for Airstreaming. So all those videos are there, and we're going to be getting going here really shortly. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like, and we'll see you next Tuesday.